"Oh, is there anything else before you go?" So I'd organise my prescriptions, and I'd say, "Oh yeah," I said, "That's right. Linda wants me to get you to check out my arm." And so I told her what was going on with my arm, and then she did a number of tests, and she goes, "Chris, I think you might have Parkinson's, you know." And so that really hit me like a...
Oh, wow, that would, delivering it like that.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck. And we are the Gold Diggers, because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting, and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
Honey, you're my sugar.
Today's episode is so inspiring. We had Chris Bishop in, and Chris has been diagnosed with Parkinson's, but he has lived a life of 40 years as a drummer.
Yeah, and this is a podcast that both me and Beck really, really enjoy because drumming is a part of our lives too. But we found it fascinating how you can live with Parkinson's disease and continue to pursue your passion. So it's a really inspiring story with Chris, so stay with us.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows who the mystery guest is and the other one doesn't. And today it's Ange's turn to find the gold in our mystery guest, Chris Bishop. You're going to love this one, Ange. So Chris has been a musician and drummer for 40 years.
Oh, man after my heart. I'm going to love this already.
Oh, yes. We've both got drummers in our family.
Yes,
And second point is Chris is living with Parkinson's disease.
Wow, okay.
And the third point is Chris has a strong Christian faith.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great. Wow.
Let's
sounds
welcome
like there's a lot to unpack here, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
My privilege. So, yeah.
So, drumming. I want to go straight there
Yep.
because this is a passion of mine and Beck's.
Yes.
Okay.
We've lived with drummers.
Yes, I
And
can
continue to.
feel the torture already.
Yeah.
And you know my husband Tony
I do,
very
yes,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. And my son Darrow is a drummer, and that's his profession, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, so when did this love of drumming begin for you?
For me, very, very early on, my grandparents had a music school in Melbourne back in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so it was a wonderful musical environment around me the whole time. I used to love going over to my grandmother's house, and there was a special room that was always locked. And I think I used to sneak in there thinking that they didn't know, but I think they always allowed me to go in there and to sneak in there and play all the instruments. There was grand pianos and guitars and glockenspiels and
It's
big
like a
double
children's
basses.
playground, really,
it
isn't
was
it?
just fantastic. And I just lost myself for the whole day that I was there, thinking that no one knew I was there, but obviously I was making a lot of noise. So,
Yeah.
so that was where the first love of it came from. And then
How old were you about then?
Oh, gee, really very, very young, 6, 7.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, and so it was fantastic.
It must have been like you go in and you see these big instruments and then
Yeah, and it was just absolutely fabulous. And so my dad was also he was a semi-professional organist for years. Did a lot of things around Victoria and all the football clubs on Friday nights, and used to do the North Melbourne Football Club social club on a Friday night, and he'd occasionally get me along as a young whippersnapper drumming alongside him playing the organ for everybody
Yeah,
dancing.
right.
So I've really been performing ever since then, as a musician, and never really stopped, and learned a lot
So
of
where
others
has it
along the way.
taken you in that time?
That's taken me a lot of places. I've been overseas and done some amazing things, worked with some amazing people, had the most amazing experiences, and it's been an absolute privilege and
So
a
have you
wonderful
tr-
life.
And you've travelled with bands, have you?
Yeah, look, I have. I've mostly done a lot of session work, so I've been like a fill-in drummer for a lot of different events, and so I get called in for gigs and jobs, mostly for a big chunk of my career.
Are there any bands that we'd know that you've played for?
There would be people from bands that you would know
Yeah.
that I'd play with, I guess. I've worked with some of the guys out of Ice House, and one of the bass players out of Ice House, Men at Work. Worked in different bands with different people like that. So,
Yeah, great.
so although I never reached those dizzying heights of success myself, which in some ways, when you look back, is a good thing, it's been quite a steady and stable career with the huge support of my amazing wife, which I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm probably sitting amongst two of those right now. So, because without Linda's support, I just wouldn't have been able to do it, because there's been some dry times, certainly financially, and some tough times. But
Well, that's the thing with a musician, because I'm finding, so my son is a drummer.
Yep.
He's 21, just starting out in his career.
yeah,
And, looking for those opportunities, it's really difficult because you're not a front person, you're a support.
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
a support
Yeah.
musician. And so
Yeah.
to find those opportunities,
yeah.
we're finding, it's difficult to know how to map out a career in that. So the fact you've kind of maintained a stable career in
Yeah.
whatever instrument it is.
Yeah,
like-
or any of the creative arts
Yeah.
ventures. But
so how have you done that? Like,
I don't think I have. I don't think I've really mapped it out. And because, I think the big thing that initiated it really for me to start on the journey of trying to do it full time was, again, my wife. And because we'd been married a few years, and I was quite unhappy and quite miserable, really. And she found me outside one day out in the garage, and I was crying, which, as a guy, I was embarrassed about. And when we talked about what was going on, I actually, she discovered how unhappy I was with my career. What I was doing at the time, I hated it, and I was terrible at it. It was very mechanical, and I was not good at it, and not built for it at all. And she knew my passion was music, and so she said to me, "Okay, well, go off and study, and I'll support you for 2 or 3 years." And she works, and still currently works as a nurse, and supported me during that time. So I threw myself into it. I studied. I went and got a diploma in music. I practiced 6 to 8 hours every day, and which I absolutely loved. People go, "Oh, that sounds so like something," but it was easy because I loved it so much. It was fantastic. And you just got yourself to a standard where you could go out and work, and on that level. At the same time, it's probably where the faith came in for me as well. As I mentioned earlier, I was a Christian, and so that became a little bit stronger for me then. And so I definitely feel like, that the Lord has had a big hand in choosing, when I kind of yielded my life to Him, He took me off in a certain direction. So, excuse me,
So did you play more in church settings or?
I did
commercials?
initially, yeah. Just around that time I did. But I also got the opportunity to do a lot of touring at that stage with a lot of Christian artists, that were coming in from overseas that were big names in America and such forth. And so that was really, really good. And so, yeah, have I answered that question? I think I've waffled a bit.
I
Sorry.
was just thinking because for King and Country, which is a Christian band that are from America, have recently been over, and theirs is a very drum and percussion based performance. I don't know if you're aware of them.
I'm aware of them, yes.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
And we were there.
Yeah,
with
with 10,000
Beck and
other
I.
people. Were you there on?
I wasn't, no, I didn't. I was working, so yeah.
Yeah, and my son was just like, his eyes light up, and he goes, "That's just what I want to do."
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's interesting to hear that that's actually, the life that you had. Was it just enjoyment all the way through, or were there some difficult seasons in there?
There's certainly difficult seasons.
Times
in there,
that you
sure.
wished you hadn't taken this profession?
No, I don't think I've ever felt that, to be honest. At times I've probably felt guilty not earning enough for my wife, my wife being the support. And again, I just want to give her credit, because not once in any of our time of marriage has she criticised or wished that I'd earned more or said anything like that. So I've just been encouraged to go full on for it.
Yeah,
She sounds amazing.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
She is absolutely amazing. I could talk all day about her.
And
but
that is the thing with the arts, isn't it? That they really are so underpaid.
Yes.
And it. I have this conversation with my son all the time. Like, you get paid for your performance, but you have to turn up at rehearsals for weeks
Yeah.
prior
that's
to
right.
that.
It requires so much skill, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you've got to, as you said, you're practicing 6-8 hours a day. Same for him. He's constantly upskilling all the time.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
and even just to maintain the level you're at, you have to continue to
That's right.
So to be a full-time musician, you only get paid for your performances, it's very difficult financially.
It is very difficult. And I think, excuse me, you have to be pretty wise with your money. So when you're earning, you're always putting away for the rainy day. But when you're not earning, because there's a lot of that. So sometimes, certainly throughout my career and even, coming up, you earn really good money sometimes with what you do. I'm about to go off on a corporate thing around Australia, and that's very, very good money. But there's lots of times where it's very, very poor money,
Yeah.
and it's not great money, So, but I think the thing that kept me in it is the love of the instrument, the love of being creative, love of music. But I love the camaraderie of being in a group of people that are working towards something and are trying to achieve something. And, the small successes that are along the way too are fantastic. And, finding yourself in places that you would never, ever be if it wasn't for what you were doing for music. And with, hopefully eventually great people that you really like being with. And after you've been doing it for a little while, I don't work with people that I don't want to work with anymore. And
you
or
can
people that are
become more
difficult.
selective, can't you?
You can, and I certainly can be at this point in my life.
Yeah.
You must have found a whole new lease of life once you went from your old career into music.
Look, it was just amazing. And just speaking as a Christian, I think it's when you find yourself, in what you believe God wants you to do, it's I'm not saying it's easy, but it's passionate, and so that's why I've never really questioned doing it. Sometimes I wish I'd been earning more or had more, success, but it's been an easy and a very enjoyable thing to do ever since then. I guess having the experience.
It's a privilege, isn't it, really, to be able to do something that you're passionate about and make a career out of it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then an on step from that is that I went into teaching as well. So I've done a lot of teaching, a lot of the high schools in the area and TAFE colleges and etc. down in Melbourne, and so I did that for quite a while. And so the teaching side of it is another aspect that when I first launched into that, it was probably more just to fill out, earn some money when I wasn't gigging so much. But that ended up becoming a great passion, and
so
something.
What's your surname? I'm just wondering if you've
Bishop.
ever taught my son. Probably not. You ever taught at Nambour Christian College?
I have earlier on, yes,
Yeah,
many years ago, but not currently. So
yeah. Okay. Well, he was there.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, you've had a Parkinson's.
Diagnosis.
Yeah. How long has that been going
this
on
is
for
coming
you?
up to 4.5 years now. So yeah.
Do you want to talk us through the journey of how did you discover this?
Yeah. Look, it was a pretty wild discovery because I'll just put forward first that we went through the journey already with my father. So it was very unexpected to go through it again with myself. So it was quite a long journey with my dad. He had Parkinson's disease. And
is it an hereditary thing?
Well, they're starting to think so now. Okay. There's people that are starting to think that that's the case. I guess they don't really know an absolute cause at this point in time, but certainly it's there's more and more and more and more people developing Parkinson's disease, so it's they're trying to, do a lot about that at this stage. So,
what was happening for you though at the time where you thought there may be something wrong?
I was just heading up to it was just around COVID time and pre-COVID, and I was heading up to the doctor just to get a prescription, and Linda, my wife, said to me, "Get your arm checked out." And what she meant by that was I was walking around, not knowing it, but just raising my arm a little bit, just walking around with it just up and not moving. And I went, "Oh, yeah, okay, no worries," And anyway, I went to the GP and was talking to her, and then she said, "Oh, is there anything else before you go?" So I'd organised my prescriptions, and I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "That's right. Linda wants me to get you to check out my arm." And so I told her what was going on with the arm, and then she did a number of tests, and she goes, "Chris, I think you might have Parkinson's, but we'll go and send you off to the neurologist and do all the appropriate testing." And so that really hit me like a...
Oh, wow, that would, delivering it like that.
Look, she was...
Wow.
I'm not putting her down.
No, I mean, but like...
It did come out of the blue.
Yeah.
It was
you
like
weren't expecting that.
Last thing I was expecting, and... not thinking I would get it, because of, I guess, because I've been through it with my dad, so it was a real surprise to find out that I'd got it as well. So it was really.
So what are the neurological tests that you had to go through?
Well, they do lots of just things like reaching out for things and testing the stiffness of your arms and response of your arms and walking, and you have to do walking while counting backwards, in threes from 71, which, was terrible for me anyway.
Wow, yeah.
But it just means you're
I
not
think I'd fail that
concentrating on
test.
your walking, so they actually get because you can kind of pull yourself together sometimes with Parkinson's for a brief thing, which is what my dad did all the time. We took him to a specialist, and he would get it together, and they go, "Oh no, he's doing great," but you're not seeing him at home. So.
Yeah.
So so they do lots of tests like that, but there's no kind of definitive thing where you go and have a scan or anything, and they go or a blood test. That's a really wait and see how you respond to medication, and then they start to make their diagnosis from that point. So,
Okay, so then you got this Parkinson diagnosis. What was
Yeah.
that like for you? Because obviously life was going to change, and
it's so
adjustments.
big. It's very overwhelming. You can't really process it. And so I came home and shared it with my wife, and we both, had a little bit of a tear. As I go now, remembering, sorry.
Yeah.
And but it was really overwhelming because I knew what that journey was. I knew instantly what that meant because I'd travelled it with my dad, and I'd seen the severity of where he got to with it.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to process all that kind of stuff. So it's
And your wife? How
yeah, look, and Linda's very, very stoked. Linda's she's still working in the emergency department. She's been a 40-year, emergency department nurse, and but yeah, she knew what it meant as well. So and it was devastating for her, for me, as she really felt for me, obviously. But then I went through kind of a weird period, which I find out a lot of people do, where you it doesn't really affect you very much, the Parkinson's, and so you think, I got this, that's just right. I'm not that worried about it, and so you build up this kind of false bravado, I guess, in it all, and you try and so probably for the first, year and a half, 2 years, I was like that, and I was like, no, this is not a problem. Yeah, it's not an issue. But then it became an issue. Then it started becoming something that I had to deal with, and different things were happening. Legs not working at a certain time, particularly with drumming. Going to do something, routine on the drums, and it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't come, and all sorts of other, different things going on at the same time. And so that was when it really hit home. I hit a wall big time, super depressed for about, for a couple of weeks, really crushed by it. Just thinking nothing but doom and gloom, what's
Because now
ahead.
it was affecting your passion.
Well, exactly, that's right,
Oh,
exactly.
well, and your livelihood, really.
Yeah, all of that, and again, I think it made it harder knowing my father's journey, and because a lot of people often
so how
say
did
I'll
you-
follow the same track as my dad.
Well,
so-
you'd have a lot of fear around that because you would have seen the journey that your dad
Yeah,
took, and then
yeah.
that's probably like, because you know so much more and you've witnessed and experienced so much more.
Yeah.
Was there fear around that for you, and how have you overcome that?
Yeah, look, there was a lot of fear at different points in time. Certainly, a lot of fear, and I think the change really came for me when two things happened. One, again, being a Christian, I really fell to my knees and called out to the Lord, and why, what purpose is there in this? What can be gained from this? I didn't really understand that at all.
Yeah.
And at the same time too, I was not. One of the things that happens with some Parkinson's people is that they struggle with sleeping as well. So that was me. I was up at 3:30 every morning. And so I thought I turned that into a positive. So I turned that into prayer time. And so as a Christian, I went in and so from 3:30 onwards, I really started to pray and really seek the Lord. And that was a little bit hard at first, but then that's really blossomed into something that is just life-giving to me now. I cannot do without that, So if I miss, like I did this morning, I actually slept past 3:30, which is amazing, but I really miss that time when I don't have that time of prayer. So that was the beginning of turning it around, because that was when I thought, okay, I've got to know as much about this as what as I can. Even though I had gone through it with my father, there's been a long time from then to my dad. So I thought, right, what's out there? What can help? I've got to do the very, very best I can. I can't keep being, like this. For my family's sake, I've got to take this head on. And so, I did. That's what I did. So I started doing a lot of my own researching, trying to understand what's there, what new therapies are out there, and what's going to be the best thing so that I could move forward and still have a good life going ahead, and combat this as much as I can and do the best I can while I've got it.
One of my childhood pin-ups is Michael J. Fox. I just
Yeah,
absolutely loved Michael J. Fox when
Yeah.
I was a teenager, and I'd watch all the movies and
Yeah.
that. So it came as a shock when he got diagnosed
Yeah,
with Parkinson's at such a young age.
Yeah.
But really watching his journey, he's an incredible ambassador, isn't he?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He really has become a hero of mine.
Yeah.
Unlike you, I probably didn't take much notice of him.
Well, probably
in
for
those
very
early
different
days.
reasons.
Yeah, that's right. But certainly since Parkinson's disease, he's and since I've got it, I've watched him carefully,
Yeah.
and I honour him in so many ways. Not only just because of how he puts himself out there, he lets the world see him as he is. Because I know, probably I have too much pride as a man, but I get embarrassed about my shakes and the things that I go on. So I time a lot of the things that I do around when I know I'm going to be well medicated and I'm not going to be shaking, purely out of pride, out of embarrassment, because being embarrassed because I don't want to sit at a coffee table across people and shaking, so where you hear the knives and forks going jing, 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 because I'm
Yeah.
shaking on the table and people are looking at it. And so I really struggle with that, the pride side of that. But he allows himself, for the cause, to be seen how he is, and he's not. It's not pretty to look at, and he knows that. And I honour him for that. I admire him for that because he's doing everything he can, to push the cause.
And he's lived with it for a long time now.
He's done amazing, really. So he's quite a an encouraging role model to look at, really. So
So
he did get it very young.
So in terms of social settings for you now, are there some things that you've had to overcome in that?
In social settings, look, certainly. I mean, the challenge is to not withdraw, because I could do that. I'm an introvert anyway, despite being a musician as well. I could never be a front person in a band. I love being behind everybody and let them take all the attention, and I can just enjoy the music. But I could easily withdraw and not still go out and communicate and, go out on social settings and things like that. So I have had to overcome. There's lots of times I don't want to go because I know that I'm going to shake, and there's lots of different reactions in the community. A lot of people are really nice, and trying to say the right thing, but they say the wrong thing a lot of the time, and or they'll come up and say, "Oh, Chris, you're looking so great," and then they'll take my wife off to the side and you hear them go, "Oh, how are you going, darling? This is so sad," And so there's so many things like that,
Wow.
that you just have to live with. But people are generally very well-meaning. I'm not really bothered by that. But
Sometimes you just don't know what to say, do they? It's
no,
difficult.
exactly, yeah. And people often say to me, "Oh, I'm sure they're coming up with some amazing, things now. The technology and everything must be amazing." But it's not really. It's still they're still forging ahead with a lot of new ideas and things that they're testing and stuff.
I think
but
they were
there's-
doing some
there's-
stem cell research and things.
Yeah,
years
there's
ago,
lots of
weren't
things going
they?
on, but
Yeah.
but it's still the best thing I've found is exercise. That's been the
Wow,
big
okay.
difference from my father's day to my day,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how much. I go to therapy twice a week with physios and exercise physiologists and things like that, and that's what makes the difference in terms for me and my Parkinson's disease. It's just a world of difference. I cannot.
What kind of
emphasise on.
exercises?
They do, two different places I go to. One is very much just about physical cardio, keeping all that up.
Yeah.
The other one's very Parkinson specific, where you just concentrate on lots of large movements. So you're doing, because Parkinson's you tend to shrink a bit, you get smaller and smaller in your movements. So you do a lot of larger things. You do a lot of cognitive things too, because with Parkinson's, some people, not all I should say, it's very different for everybody, but you, they'll get me to do 2 or 3 things at once. I'll be, walking up and down, tossing sandbags to each other, and we've got to catch them while I've got to name, every boy's name that I can think of that starts with B, and lots of things like that, lots of mental things, lots of balance things too, because, balance is a thing with Parkinson's. So they focus on that, and it's fantastic, it really is
Yeah.
life-saving, yeah.
Chris, you're still drumming. How's it affected your drumming?
Yeah. I was gonna ask.
Yeah, look, I'm not what I used to be.
Yeah.
And I did stop. I retired, and I retired from teaching. I retired from drumming. Thought I'd be okay, but really grieved it. I really did. I just did not realise how much I loved,
Yeah, it's part of
playing
you.
and being part of a group. And so I'm out playing again. But I get a
Drumming-
lot of support with that. Sorry.
Drumming really is something that's part of a person, isn't it? It's
It is.
part
yeah.
of who you are.
It
I know
is,
with
yeah.
my husband and
Yep.
my son and, you
Yep.
know, with Dara,
Yeah.
it's part of your personality almost.
Well, Sam,
isn't
who
it?
is producing today, is also a drummer.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there you go. Is he any good?
Yeah, he is actually.
He's okay.
He's all right.
So you understand, don't you, Sam?
Mm.
So it's something you can't really stop, can you?
No, and I actually found a new love for it because while you work in it, you're doing it very much as a job, even though it's you're happy that you're doing something that you choose to do. But once I finished this as a job, I still was practicing 2 to 3 hours a day. I just loved the instrument. I was doing that for no reason or purpose other than I loved playing and I loved practicing.
Do you
so.
feel the coordination of drumming actually helps you with Parkinson's?
Look, I would like to think so. It's probably one of the reasons as well as why I like to practice because I think it's really, really good for your mind. So it's good because I still like to learn new things, and that's certainly something that I'm encouraged to do by the therapists that I work with, is to be stretching the mind all the time. So I'm still working on new rhythms and new styles of rhythms and stretching myself and still trying to learn things to be able to do that I can't currently do. And I think that's a really very important thing to be doing. So I think it helps very much in that way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And are there any other passions that you pursue?
Passions that I pursue. Look, music would really be the strong one, and family and faith. Are probably the key areas in my life, I guess. Yeah.
So what's family life for you? Have you got kids?
Yeah, I've got an amazing 24-year-old son.
Yeah.
And he's a great son. He's just been absolutely amazing over the years. He's 24. He's teaching in Hobart at the moment. He's a drama English teacher.
Yeah.
And he lives over there, so he's a good excuse for Linda and I to go over in Tassie and take off for a couple of weeks around there and base ourselves at his place. So he's great. And then, there's my wife. We've been married for, I'm going to get this wrong, 43, 44, 45 years. 82. What's 82 to never know? Someone else can figure that out. But a long time, and I'm just really blessed in that way too. My wife is amazing, and we're real partners and best friends, and still to this day, which is fantastic. And so I just, couldn't have done any of this without her, and nor would I have wanted to. So yeah.
I think, though, when some people go through a journey like you have with Parkinson's, or it could be cancer, or whatever disease it is, I think you come to a moment where faith becomes significant.
Yeah.
Or you come to a moment of trying to wonder what life is about in those times. And how significant has that been for you in your journey?
I think the significance of that is I want to make the most of the time I got left. And so I do look back and think, man, I wasted a lot of time, because one of the great things that has come with this that I am actually thankful and grateful for with Parkinson's is I do feel like it has allowed me the time and the motivation to draw closer to the Lord. I would have called myself, a pretty active Christian, I suppose, for most of my life, but now I feel like it's the first time ever that I've really put my faith first, or put the Lord first in terms of pursuing Him and putting priority into time, because we all get very, very busy with life, but Parkinson's has made me slow down so that I have refocused my energies, and I've found that I've got a real love for, which I didn't have as much for before, but really understanding more about the Lord and trying to pursue that, and and I'm hungry for that, and I'm hungry for trying to understand the Bible, and so that's where a lot of my energies and time and spare time goes into, which is absolutely fantastic. It's
So
amazing because I
in
feel
a
like
way
I'm
you
learning
wouldn't-
so much. So.
You wouldn't want to wish it away then, would you?
Well, look, I have been said, and I question this statement, because the impact that Parkinson's has had on me, particularly with my Christian faith and where I feel like I am at with the Lord at the moment, and I don't say this flippantly, but, if it meant that I didn't have this with the Lord, what I got now, and not have Parkinson's, and I would rather have Parkinson's
Wow.
and have what I have with the Lord now.
Wow. That's a big
and
statement.
yeah, and look, it is, because I know that I'm 4.5 years into this, and I see people around me at the therapies that are a lot further advanced than I am. So some of them might say to me, well, let's see if you say that in 5 or 6 years' time, and that might be true. I guess, I don't know, but I am right at this point in time. I have never felt more content and more at peace in my life than I do right now. And
That's
I'm sitting here
amazing.
shaking.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that happens when people suffer. So I have a friend, she's passed away now, but she had severe lupus. She was very young, and she was in and out of hospital, spent many months in hospital at a time. And I used to ring her. I was living in the UK at the time, and she was over here, and I used to ring her up, and she'd be in the hospital, and I'd be like, expecting her to be moaning and complaining that she's been dealt a difficult card.
Yeah.
But the whole time she says, no, you don't get it, Angela. She says, it's almost like God's using me in this hospital bed to be a blessing to the people around me, to speak positively to them, to lift them up. And if I didn't have this, I wouldn't be here
that's
right
so
now.
true.
Do you have experiences like that with maybe other people that have come into your world as a result of this?
Look, absolutely, and I think, and it's given me a bit more of a not a boldness, but I'm more willing to, probably to share with other people who have got Parkinson's disease, and because I do see some people really struggling with depression and things like that. So I've had quite a lot of opportunities to share why I am feeling so good about life, I guess, even though I have Parkinson's. And so I have had those opportunities, but not just people who have Parkinson's, it's other people who question faith, and a lot of people have challenged me and said, well, heck, you believe in God and you're a Christian, and yet you've ended up like this, And I remember saying to one of those people, I said, yeah, but you're inferring that God loves me more because I'm a Christian. He loves me more than you, and you're not a Christian. I said, it's not the case. He loves you as much as he loves me. He loves us equally. So why shouldn't I get something, or not get something just because I'm a Christian?
Yeah, great.
And especially if God can use it, and I hand it over to him, and if he can use it, that's what I want, for sure. So I've certainly had
Great attitude.
So what does the future look like for you? How do you look upon that?
Look, the future, I really, once again, have to learn to just trust the Lord, lean on him, and really trust him, because you really do have to trust him, because what's happened up till now is fantastic in terms of the support that I have, the life experiences that I'm having. I'm not saying that I don't have down times. I'm like anybody else. I do have moments where I struggle and I'm a little bit down, but they're not very often. So the future, I've just got to trust with him. I'm really, really well set up with support from the NDIS and things like that, which has been absolutely fantastic. And what a privilege, to live in a country where you get that kind of support, because a lot of people in the world don't live in places where they don't get this kind of support at all. So I'm incredibly grateful for the support that I get from NDIS and
what does that
everybody
support
else.
look like?
Oh, look, it's some pretty amazing stuff has happened. To get me back out playing, I can have a support worker that helps me set up my gear or carries my gear and sets up my equipment. So at the moment, when I'm working fortnightly at the moment for a couple of weeks doing things. So he goes out, he sets up the gear for me. I come along and I play like a rock star.
So like your own personal roadie.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And then I get up and say goodbye to everybody, and he packs everything up for me and brings it home for me and unpacks it at home, and so that's a real privilege. That's absolutely fantastic. So because it has brought the joy back into my life of playing and which is what they say that they're trying to do. So that side has been fantastic. The other side is probably getting help with the home, because I used to live on acreage, but I can't mow or anything anymore. I trip over when I mow and live on a bit of a hill, so the mower goes skating off down the hill and things like that. So it got a bit dangerous towards the end there. So we have.
Please don't tell me you've ever made it on YouTube. You've seen those things.
I hope not. There might be a neighbour over the road that got something, but no, it did get really, really dangerous there, and so I can't do any of that. So I get support with doing that. My wife has been working, really busy as a nurse for quite a lot of years, so we get a bit of support with the housework.
So your
and things
wife's
like
a
that. So
nurse, you say?
she is a nurse, yeah.
Yeah, well, that
yeah.
kind of works very well then for you,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's good because she's very practical. She doesn't let me get too, tells me to snap out of it sometimes,
Yeah.
because she does see a lot of tragedy. She's an emergency nurse, so she sees a lot of hard stuff. So she's very practical, so which is good, yeah. Yeah, so the future, it's probably the hardest time to think about the future, funnily enough, is when you're being assessed. When you're having people come to assess you, which has happened quite a lot of times, is because they make assessments and then they make judgments on, and they talk to you freely about where they think you'll be in, a certain amount of time. And I don't spend too much time thinking about that, I'm just really trying to live day by day, as we're told to do. So so that's sometimes when you can think about it and you start thinking, oh gosh, okay, so that's coming, So but I really don't let that get to me too much.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot on this podcast with various different guests about the concept of legacy.
Yeah.
And I think it's no matter what age we are or, whatever stage of life we're in, I think it's something we should always be thinking about. What do we want to be known for? And where they can be characteristics, personality traits, achievements or whatever. What would those things be for you?
Oh, wow. Gee, what a good question. I really wanted to be known as somebody that honours the Lord, and represents Him well. And that would be a big thing. I think I would like to think that I've had an influence on a lot of the students that I've taught, not just with drumming, but life, things as well. I think that's been the biggest privilege of teaching. Of when you do connect with students and develop a relationship with them, you do have an opportunity to have a positive influence into their lives. So, so that those two would be pretty important to me. That I'd like to think would happen.
Yeah.
It is a unique setting, isn't it, being a teacher? Like I know when I've had piano students and you watch them go through their whole childhood pretty much.
That's right.
And you get that half an hour every week with them, just you and them. And you do form a friendship with them and have a little bit of influence in that half an hour.
That's right, and sometimes you're not even doing the instrument lesson. You're doing the instrument lesson, but very much with the purpose of getting them to talk about what's going on, and trying to share with them and encourage them, and hopefully they go out of the lesson, feeling encouraged or supported and listened to. And
that's right. And often it can come from, so why didn't you practice this week?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
It's often, why didn't you practice this week? Do they ever do their practice?
Oh, boy, I'd give $1 for every person, every parent that said, they're not practicing.
My son is a drum and percussion teacher, and he teaches like some of the younger ones. Yeah, so he has that challenge that they don't always do their practice. And then they get into the ensembles and he's got to kind of orchestrate all the ensembles. It's such a great growth experience for Dara, actually, being in that teaching zone.
It is fantastic.
And learning how to connect with your students.
I think that's just vital and important. And I love, and I don't say this as a boast, but I've got a drawer full of letters and cards and things that I keep, because I like to pull them out. I've got them from the last 20 odd years, and and it could probably sound a bit egocentric, I suppose, but it's not for that purpose. But it's
I've got one of those drawers too.
Great, fantastic.
I was going to say, Dara has started as well. And he even got a crate of beer once.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've got a little bird that says "World's Best Piano Teacher."
Yeah, that's right.
And you keep those things.
And then they say, "Oh, thank you for being my friend," because they consider you their friend.
And to walk around the community here and see some of my students, you're at the plaza or something, you go, "Hey, Mr. Bishop," and you turn around and they come towards you, and they're dragging their 4 kids along behind them, and then you try to think, oh, who are they? And then, but to realise who they are, and
they look different when they grow up, don't they?
Oh, and the scary part is how quick it all is going.
It's so true.
We say that a lot, but it's absolutely true. It goes so quick. So.
Really is.
Yeah.
So, Ange, there's so much gold there.
There is. Chris, I'm just really inspired by
Well, thank
not
you.
just your story, but you, because you just seem so stable and consistent and solid.
Okay.
And it's clearly that your faith is the foundation
Yeah,
of that. That no
absolutely.
matter how many like highs and lows life can bring you, there's almost like this baseline that you just seem to
Yeah.
continue with, and that's obviously deep trust and faith
Yep.
in God. And I love your perspective about how you're trying to bring out the positives in your condition, and you're seeing it from a very positive point of view, that that it's enabling you to do things that, or be in places that you wouldn't have otherwise found yourself in. And what we found, even on this podcast, with people that are going through significant health challenges, the ones that fare the best are the ones that view it positively and that try and find those positive positive things out of it. And you're definitely in that. And I know that probably the road that lies ahead is going to have its challenges, but you're in a good place to confront those in a healthy and positive way. And I know that you're going to continue on to find peace with it, and that will actually touch and bless a lot of people, even the students that you're around that are going to witness you and witness this journey. And I'm so delighted that you're still able to pursue your passion. What a blessing and
agree.
a joy that
Yeah.
is. And it's going to bring you to life and
I
continue
agree.
to do
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your story with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm going to be picking your brains about like a drumming career.
Okay. Yep. Nice.
We've been looking into that for our son, so it's
Yeah.
great to hear someone that's made a great success of that.
Yeah,
so.
thank you
It's
very
been
much.
fantastic
Yeah.
to have you on the show today,
Yeah,
Chris.
thank you.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much
it.
for sharing your
Well,
story.
thank
and
you for listening. I
your
appreciate
faith.
it.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple, or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a poem. Honey, you're my sugar.